Hi, Mary.
Hi, Candace.
I saw you briefly.
Yes, it's just my profile, my shadow.
Oh,
I'm gonna run
okay.
downstairs real quick before the meeting starts. So
Yeah.
thinking about you all this evening.
Oh, well, thank you. Did you get a lot of snow up there the other day?
We got a little, but not much. Not much really. And in fact, when I was in Spokane, it was about the same amount,
wow.
particularly on the north side, which was a surprise to me because it's often like coming to a different country when I come into Spokane. You know?
Right.
Yeah. So I'll be back in just a minute. Just
Okay.
quietly.
Okay. Hi, Betsy. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Todd.
Hi. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
You're the only one I see. Oh, I see Mary's name on here and Betsy.
Well, Catherine's name was on. It looked like it said she was trying to connect, but now she's gone. So
Interesting.
I don't know. Hi, Lynn.
Hello. How are you?
Good. Hi, Darrell. Hi, Dorothy.
Betsy's here.
Dorothy, can you hear me? I guess not.
She might not be there quite yet.
Yeah.
Hey, Darrell.
I'm trying to get
Okay.
my camera to work, so.
Okay. Well, I just a little while ago, I emailed you an attachment with the survey results.
Yes, I got that. The
You got
second
that.
one.
Yes, the second one.
Ah, there we go. Finally. Okay.
There's Lilia. There's Mike. Hey, Mike. I see Tom.
All right.
No. No. Yes, you do. And come back here. No. All right. Fine. You're fine.
Got your buddy with you. My buddy's here laying at my feet, or he was.
I just had to lock mine out of the door because she's so bossy to me lately. Like she just will not stop yapping at me.
Can you all hear me?
Ah, you can now. Were you trying before?
Yes, I've been trying since about 5 minutes to 6 and getting strangely blocked on my phone and my computer from Zoom, but I think I figured it out finally.
Good.
So for our agenda, now that I am here, I guess this is we're calling the meeting to order. And is there a need to amend the agenda for tonight's meeting? Okay, then we will just head on and keep today's agenda and open with opening words from Todd.
Okay. Bear with me just 1 second. I pull up my notes here. So these are some opening words that Lynn actually reminded me of. I'm going to say a little more during my report, but she reminded me of a sermon I gave the Sunday after the so-called split, or after a group of people lickety split from our congregation a couple years ago. And this sermon was called Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow, or something to that effect, I think. And little did I realize how foretelling it would be, but here's a couple of lines from that sermon that I thought would be good. It is said the buffalo is the only animal that when facing a storm walks through it instead of away from it. I don't believe this is so. Unitarians are another animal that do not turn away when facing a storm. Girded with our great values, we turn towards and walk into whatever we must endure, difficult or not, to remain true to our values, to ourselves, and to each other.
Nice.
Very nice. Thanks, Todd. Okay, so now we need to return to the minutes of the November board meeting, and we need to either amend or approve them. Are there any amendments to the November board meeting?
Yeah, I have the amendment that I would like to recommend that we just go back to, I wrote it down, sorry, I gotta pull up the right document here. I have so many open documents on my. That we just strike the statement that says that a congregational vote is needed, that Tom Mosier said that a congregational vote is needed for us to join NAUA. Oh wait, here it is. Okay. So it's in the paragraph that says ministers report. And if we just say Tom Mosier reported the bylaws do not prohibit the congregation from joining an organization and leave it at that, it fixes it. And I have Tom Mosier's statement, if anybody wants to hear it. I sent it to the board via the email, and I think I sent it to Todd, and I read it to Tom in one of our policy and procedures meetings. So I'm happy to share that with you if you want those words, but.
It sounds like you've covered it. Any other amendments
So
to?
are you talking about the November minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Let me just add to make sure everybody understands. What Dorothy will do is to actually correct those November minutes rather than make reference in these minutes to correcting that. She'll just correct those November minutes. So anybody researching what happened in that meeting in November, they will be able to find exactly what Lynn has corrected.
good. So then that's our November meeting minutes are approved. And do we need to amend the December meeting minutes? Okay, then I guess the December meeting minutes are approved. And now,
Can I ask a question before we move on from this?
sure.
Just since it's not going to be necessary to review these minutes, the November minutes again for approval, since you're accepting them as the suggested amendment via Lynn, I'm wondering if it would be okay if Dorothy read it so that we're clear that she got the correct wording. So before we move on from it.
Sure.
Actually, my plan was to go back to her email where she has it all printed out
Okay.
and just take it from that. That's why I didn't write anything down at this point, because I know it's in the email. And
Okay.
that's how you want it to be stated. Isn't that correct? Lynn?
Yeah, did I put, I know I put Tom's recorded words in the email, but I also put in there what I was going to recommend that we amend. Okay, yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
Yes.
that's what I would like, yeah.
Okay,
If
that
everyone's
all
in
right?
agreement.
Great, thank you.
And do I have it correctly that nobody is wanting to amend the December meeting minutes? Okay, then we can approve that as well. And next step is the operations team report with Candace.
Okay, I have 6 items. One, the end of the calendar and second quarter financial reports have been worked on this month and should be ready by the end of January. Preliminary budget planning begins in mid-January with all teams reporting to the operations manager about their projected financial needs for the coming year. The UUA insurance program has contacted the office about its request to begin auto-deducting monthly payments for the 2 UUCS employees enrolled. The annual UUA certification process has begun. The yearly property tax exemption filing has been completed online. And finally, the team approved a new UUCS animal policy. At UUCS, we love dogs. However, we only allow trained service animals into our services as defined by the Washington State Code RCW 4960040. We respectfully request that individuals needing such assistance bring only trained service animals when necessary into church services and events. And I thought I'd just read the first 2 sentences of the actual code as it's written. Service animal, in quotation marks, means any dog that is individually trained to do work or perform tasks for the benefit of an individual with a disability, including a physical, sensory, psychiatric, intellectual, or other mental disability. The work or tasks performed by the service animal must be directly related to the individual's disability. And there's more, but it's like gives examples. So, I thought if this is put in the minutes and maybe in the board slivers, I mean, it's your call, Daryl, where you think we should put the whole thing in. But anyway, so that's it.
I have a question. Were there problems with service animals or non-service animals that brought this up?
Yes, and I don't have any specifics, but and not recently, but yes, there were some issues.
Okay. Well, good. And that's the end of the operations.
It is.
Okay.
Candace, I did not receive an operations team report. Did you send it out?
I did. Did the
Did you-
rest of you get it? Yeah, I'll send it to you again.
Okay, I may have gotten it and I just lost it
Oh,
someplace.
that's okay.
Okay,
I'll send
thanks,
it again.
Candace.
Carl. Mhm.
So what do you want to do about, how much do you want to include related to the RCW on service animals?
Well, it might be helpful to put in the first 2 sentences and then, but I don't know, it's whatever you all think, you know, it wouldn't hurt to put the whole thing in. It's, you know, a little lengthy, but
Maybe just the first couple sentences and then refer to the RCW by number.
right,
So if you-
that would work too.
They're
Sure.
easy to look up.
Okay.
So,
Tom, is it-
Yes, Tom?
yes, Tom?
Just an anecdote here. I had to pursue this quite a bit at our winter community that Mary and I were in for some time. And it's interesting what you just read that referred to service animals as apparently only dogs. The federal refers to dogs and miniature horses. And coincidentally, this afternoon, Mary and I were watching a program in which they spent about 10 minutes with a blind lady who had a miniature horse, and the horse was in the restaurants, the horse was on buses, the horse was in grocery stores. They have to be a certain height at the shoulders, which is generally the size of a large dog, maybe a little bit bigger. But the federal law very clearly includes the breed of miniature horses. So I was really kind of puzzled when you're quoting the Washington law only referred to dogs.
Yeah, I don't know.
So be prepared.
Well, I guess we'll proceed then with the president's report. I put this next to the minister's report, or we decided to put this next to the minister's report in discussion of the NAUA because it all kind of flows together. I was very upset by an email that came from the UUA about a week and a half ago about another minister being ousted of the Ministers Association for reasons that were uh, not well defined, and spent quite some time writing an email I didn't even send because it really had me very riled up about thinking here's another minister that's being accused of something that sounds like it comes down to disagreeing with the UUA as opposed to something more clearly wrong in the minister's behavior. And it just brought up all these feelings about not being able to trust the UUA or the Ministers Association anymore about making the kind of judgments that I could agree with or that I thought were ethically sound. And I'm glad I didn't send anything off in an email, but I am left feeling so distrustful of the UUA. And I know that it's useful for us to be part of that organization because of the benefits that they give to our church. But I also feel kind of ashamed to be part of an organization that I agree with so vehemently. And I'm going to just turn it over to Todd because he has much more measured things to say than anything else that I would have left to say on that subject, I think.
Well, I hope they're more measured. We'll see. But yeah, so the person that you're referring to is somebody I've gotten to know just for probably the past 4 weeks. She reached out to me saying that members of her congregation were interested in joining the NAUA and were highly upset with the treatment that she had received by the UUA and the MFC. So we met, and just a real lovely person. I really love her spirit and presence. I think she'd make a great minister anywhere. And she's also gotten involved in the NAUA as far as the team of ministers that is working on, how do we supply ministry to congregations seeking liberal ministers, and has also become part of our the NAUA steering committee. So I've gotten to know her fairly well. And as I understand it from her, what happened is she had a contract as an interim at a congregation in the Northeast. She found out some inappropriate things that were going on regarding an employee's compensation, and let the board know that there was quite a bit of money going to this employee that was not being reported, which is illegal for the employee and the congregation. It didn't really go anywhere, but the employee complained that the minister was creating a hostile work environment, and the congregation, I'm told, the board of the congregation put her, on temporary suspension while they put together an investigative team. They looked into it. They cleared her and asked her back, but a group with the UUA, again, I'm told this said, no, we have our own investigation going on, and we recommend that you don't continue her contract. And the board did what the UUA said. So, this is probably one of the things that bothers me most, in addition to the injustice against this minister, is we have another example of the UUA interfering where its nose doesn't belong. In addition, this minister has a history. She is a trans woman and has a history of disagreeing with some in the trans ministers group trust with the UUA, including some that are some heavy hitters in the takeover of the Unitarian Universalist Association. And I can't help but think that was really the issue, that this is a person who wasn't liked by certain people, and this was an opportunity to disfellowship her as a bully. Now, I don't receive the emails notifications anymore, but I know they were going to call her a bully in the initial letter. She happens to be a very high power licensed attorney in New York, and I think there were some she made some real threats about the language that was used, but nevertheless, it's still defamation. So, in addition, I've been in touch with members of a congregation here in the Northwest that, or someone who's actually been a participant in a church for a long time, and tried to officially join that congregation and was told by the I don't know if it's the new minister or interim minister, well, you can't join, because you've spoken out against the changes to the Article 2. And so they're actively not allowing members to join the congregation who are not pleased and have been outspoken about what the UUA is doing. Received another email today from a congregation in Canada, whose minister who was very problematic, very, very much trying to convert that church away from its liberal principles on behalf of the UUA, finally got the message and is leaving. And now, they're already asking me, we hope you can help us find a minister. So this is a very large issue. So folks are really ripe for the NAUA. I talked with Barry Andrews yesterday. For those who remember Barry was grew up in our church and was a associate minister under Bill Howe for some time, and went on to do really great things. And he's an author on the topics of transcendentalism. He's spoken to our church in recent years. Barry says, I'm really supportive of the NAUA, but I'm not ready to leave the UUA yet. And I continue to emphasize that, I see the NAUA as an opportunity to give the UUA a much longer fuse. It is heading down a path that I don't believe is sustainable, but it is not one that it will course correct for perhaps as much as a decade, if then. So by providing the services that we need from an organization, we don't really need to worry about what the UUA is doing, and can remain a part of it as much as we want to, or as much as we choose to, until it sort of comes to its own senses, if it does. And if it doesn't, then we have, established something to preserve liberal religion. So I think that's an important point. Important point to remember about, why we're doing this. We literally have needs as liberal congregations. I hear about them, as in the cases I mentioned, almost on a daily basis now. So rather than trying to appeal to the better angels of the UUA after 3 or 4 years, it's apparent that's not going to happen. Let's just take care of ourselves and see, let the UUA do its thing, and maybe it'll come back around someday. And if not, that'll be okay too. So I'll close with just a little bit from the sermon several years ago. Said, I think we're in the midst of a very dark period globally and nationally that is ushering in an unprecedented age of fascism and groupthink that is the very antithesis of Unitarian Universalism. Yet it has already overcome our liberal religion, just as it has many progressive and liberal organizations. Are we to go gently into that good night, or rage against the dying of the light? Are we to merely offer ourselves comfort care as we watch our religion die? I think and hope we're better than that. Are we to remain quiet while the lifeblood of a liberal society, the lifeblood of our liberal religion, bleeds out just because the bloodletting is being administered by some of our friends? I think we must be better than that. The future of Unitarian Universalism will depend on which side of history its congregations choose to stand on, including our own.
Thank you, Todd. I know we'll probably hear more from you as we enter into this next phase where Candace did a beautiful job in a written summary of what we heard from our membership about their thoughts and ideas about becoming charter members of the NAUA. And I'm going to turn this over to her, but I just want to emphasize that it was really well thought out, your summary, and very much appreciated, I think, by all of us. And I'll turn it over to you to explain what you found in summarizing all of that survey.
Well, if it's okay, I just thought I would read the summary. And I sent a copy to all the board members. And I don't know if I sent a summary to you or not. Is that okay, Catherine? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. A congregational survey asking members to weigh in on whether the UUCS should become a founding member of the North American Unitarian Association was sent out on January 11th, 2023. Members had until today, January 25th, to respond to the survey, and a total of 112 members participated. Of the 112 responses, 76 said yes, 27 said yes with some reservations, 5 said not sure, and 4 said no. Comments from those members who responded yes expressed disappointment with the UUA leadership, the need to keep Unitarian and liberal values alive, the desire to save the 7 principles, important to send a message to Boston, the UUA is too authoritarian, with the NAUA we can bring the changes we want, the NAUA is a sensible way out of a difficult situation, keep respect for congregational polity and the democratic process, the need for an organization more aligned with personal values, keep the freedom to express oneself without censure, the need to connect with other Unitarians who share our concerns, feeling upset about the UUA's treatment of our minister, Todd Eckloff, the need to address the current liberal minister crisis or the lack thereof, and the desire for the UUCS to become a founding member of NAUA. Comments from those who responded yes with some reservations included many concerns about possible unforeseen financial costs to the UUCS in joining with the NAUA. Practical issues such as possible changes to staff health and retirement benefits that are currently provided by the UUA, concern that joining with the NAUA will have unforeseen impacts on our local congregation, including ministerial and staffing resources, preference for an in-person congregational vote, curiosity about how many other churches will join in, and the desire to have more information about the NAUA and details about how it will function. For example, a mission statement, concrete plans. Several members were not sure about the proposal for the UUCS to become a founding member of NAUA, citing as reasons the need to have more information about NAUA and also not understanding the purpose for a new organization. From those who responded no to the survey question, reasons included the need to have more congregational conversations about becoming a member of the NAUA before a decision is reached, thinking the whole process was rushed, thinking we should have been able to vote online instead of answering a survey, preference for strengthening our local congregation first, fear that NAUA membership will weaken our local congregation's already stressed sense of community, not wanting to support NAUA financially, feeling we should support the UUA instead of starting a new organization, and finally, worry that our congregation generally might be negatively impacted by joining the new organization.
Thank you, Candace. This is a time for the board to discuss what each of our thoughts are, and whoever would like to begin. Does anybody want to begin that?
Well, I'll throw out a couple of points. I did some quick math while using a calculator while Candace was reading the numbers. And it's about 68% that voted yes, Queen yes, for joining. And if you put yes with reservations, it goes up to about 88%, if my math is correct. But that's approximately right. I think it behooves us to listen to the reservations that are expressed by those who say yes with reservations, because there's a lot here which is underspecified and yet undetermined. A part of the, I think, opportunity is that if we become an early member, we have an opportunity to help shape what it is that this becomes. So that makes me feel good. I think that's one perspective that I think would be useful to bear in mind. So those are just some initial comments to kick off a discussion.
Great.
Well, I wanted to say that I did math too before the meeting, and not that my math skills are,
You have the
stellar.
numbers in front of you, though.
But with yes and yes with some reservations, I had 92%.
Thanks, Candace.
Mhm.
So I had a question for Candace and or Todd. Have either of you gotten any communications from the UUA about the NAUA and our part in getting it off the ground?
No.
I certainly haven't, no.
Does
No.
that surprise you, Todd?
It doesn't. If I think if they had some kind of legal grounds, we would have heard from them. Or they are building a case and we haven't heard from them yet. But I don't know what that would be. I mean, we're free to start an organization as many as we want. So I don't think there's any ground for communicating about it. The only thing I have heard is there's a congregation in California that has a UUA program has been working with, and after I made the announcement, this UUA representative told the congregation that now we have a hard choice to choose to go with the gadflies or to move into 21st century Unitarian Universalism. That's the only thing I've heard mentioned that was a formal response to any church. And of course, I wrote back and said, I don't know why the UUA wants to split our religion up. I said, I've not said that. In fact, I've specifically said we should stay together, and hopefully the UUA will turn around and we'll be able to reconcile at some point. But that is, I don't know if that is the line that's going to be used, that this is a hard choice. I don't know what the gadflies are. I don't know what they stand for, what their beliefs are. None of that's ever been spelled out. It's just a sort of negative stereotype and ad hominem attack that the UUA continues to practice in diminishing those that it disagrees with. So
I see the NAUA by having many different people from many different congregations, just having, but by collectively having more of a voice in shaping the UUA's direction forward. And I agree that we shouldn't just bail on the UUA in hopes that they really can begin to listen, that there is some strong disagreement with many of their policies and or behaviors. and that it's such an important thing that there are people all over the country and in Canada that are raising a flag saying that this is dangerous, the direction that things are going, and so much so concerning that there's this large number of people in congregations that are banding together to try to have more of a voice. So I don't see it as a necessary split unless the UUA makes it so.
So
Anybody-
an interest, oh, go ahead, Lynn.
Oh, well, if you're following up on that, Dick, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, first, I just wanted to really say thank you to Candace. I know that was a lot of work. And I really appreciated the way that you brought that forward, the whole idea of surveying the congregation, taking the pulse of the congregation and sort of figuring out where they stood, because I was initially against that idea. And so I really appreciate that you took that on and that you did that. And I think we have a really nice, certainly a much better understanding of what the congregation, or certainly the people who took the time, which thank you if you're here as one of those people, took the time to give us that feedback and that information. We know what the pulse says, and I feel very confident in making this decision. I also want to thank Todd for his leadership at the time back in 2020, when we had our initial splinter group leave us. I remember feeling very lost then and scared. And I think that sermon really gave me confidence and hope. And I just wanted to quote one more thing from that sermon, actually, that says, "The future of our congregation will depend upon our response to the ideological plague that is now upon us." And I think that it's taken us a while to get there. But whether or not we even realize it, we are shaping NAUA. NAUA is our response. And it has taken us some time to figure that out, but I just don't see us having much of another choice if we want to save liberal religion. So I really am deeply appreciative for that leadership at that time. That was so scary. And I feel so much better that we are here today with this plan in place and starting to take action on it. Sorry, I get a little teary-eyed about it.
Thank you, Lynn. Yeah, I also want to add to what you said by saying, in the process of coming up with the NAUA, there have been interim measures that we've been taking with a letter you wrote to the UUA, and their lack of real response to that, to Todd's wanting to run as president and then being told, oh no, well, the rules have changed and now it's going to take 50 congregations instead of 25, and you have to do it all within a ridiculously short period of time to organize it, and basically told him he had to shut that down. So yeah, one of the leaders, or the foremost leader, Todd, didn't just rush into creating this NAUA. He's been talking with a lot of people and a lot of ministers, a lot of concerned people around the country and within our congregation about this for a long time. And being shut out of a more direct means of influencing it by perhaps becoming president, it just seems like it's the next logical step to me. Yeah, Tom. Oops, you're muted, Tom.
Yeah, this isn't really addressing the topic, as you all have done, but just a side note here. If we had a congregational meeting, a quorum is 15%. If we figure we have 400 or 405 members, the 15% quorum would be what we would need to conduct business in a congregational meeting. 112 responses, if you would make an assumption that 112 people were at such a meeting, that's a 27%, far exceeding the quorum to conduct business. And as Candace pointed out, it was a 92% positive vote. So if you were in a meeting, you would, all the statistics would be there for the congregation to have gone through the motions. Of course, they didn't because it was a survey.
Yeah. I talked with Rebecca last week, and she said currently our quorum is 48.
Yeah.
So having 112 responses is more than double that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I guess I'd add to that by saying the people that actually filled out the survey and returned it are the ones that care the most about this issue, I would think. I mean, I certainly sometimes people don't fill out surveys for one reason or another, but I think the majority of people who have any strong feelings filled it out. And that gives me more confidence that in that 92% number.
I'm not sure I fully agree with that, Catherine. I think some people might, various reasons why they didn't fill it out. And I think we should be careful to make assumptions that all of them did. Certainly, probably some don't care. But I think we should be careful to make that assumption that those who didn't fill it out don't care.
Well, I didn't mean not care. I just meant felt strongly, I guess. But even so, I think you're right. I think you make a good point. And Todd?
Yeah, I would say generally a survey is a sampling of a group, right? And so a 10% response is huge in the survey business, of course, but to have double the quorum respond, I think is an indicator at least of how most in our congregation feel. I don't think we can judge much more than that based on the numbers of the survey, but I do think we could make that leap that a majority of the congregation are with us on this, and that we can go back and look at other votes that have happened in recent months and years and find that same level of confidence. So I think this is at least a good indicator for where the congregation is at, even if it doesn't represent everyone. Now, Rebecca told me just a couple of days ago that our voting members are actually at the same place they were when we did that 2020 vote on the new board or the dual boards. We had 320 voting members at that time. We have 319 voting members now. So even though I think some people maybe feel like our church is still in trauma over what's gone on, I think we've recovered nicely. We have new members joining. We have wonderful services, and I know for some people, not seeing a lot of people in the building feels like we're drying up, but we have a lot more members, or at least as many members participating just in other avenues as we ever have. So I find our congregation to be full of life. I find new members very curious about what's going on with the UUA, but also very supportive, if not coming because of the stance that we've taken. So that's just my perspective. I know there's some people that have expressed thoughts that somehow our church is already going through enough. Why are we dragging them into more? This doesn't feel like more to me. This feels like the kind of hope that Lynn expressed. So a lot of us feel that. The financial thing, again, that's going to be up to the congregation at some point. It's always up to the congregation. One thing I would say is you're probably not going to have to put away tens of thousands of dollars to do many ministerial searches anymore. We're definitely going to streamline that process for congregations and make it open year long, so congregations don't have to wait till noon on one day of the year to let their candidate know that that's the person they want and hope that they get them, compared to other churches. So we're gonna fix that, and we're not going to ask for 10% of the church's budget. We're going to cut it down to 8.5%. I'm kidding. We're going to leave it up to the generosity of our members and let them decide what they can give.
I have a question for you, Todd, about some people having concerns about the draw upon our church's finances and upon the energy and time of our staff. How could you answer that?
Well, it's not drawing on the time and energy of our staff at all. I mean, they're not working on it outside of, maybe setting up a line item in our budget so that we can temporarily have a holding place for donations, which, takes just a couple minutes. Now, if I'm the staff person they're talking about, this is part of my job. Okay. So I know some some would say, oh, well, I do have time to myself and I don't see it as my volunteering for something outside of my duties as the minister of this church. I'm fulfilling my duties as the minister of this church, and this is one of those duties that has arisen. It's not like I have a set in my contract says, here are the things we always do, period. I have to be flexible with the needs of the congregation. And right now, this congregation may not survive my ministry. Not no fault of mine, but I may be the last liberal minister unless we do something. So this is both about saving the liberal religion that we have historically been part of, but also saving the future of this historic congregation. That's my job. Okay, I'm dedicated to doing that. And truthfully, as much as I love you guys, if it was just just going on and dealing with the strain of the circumstances, I probably would have been gone by now, right? Because that's not the kind of life I want for myself. It's not the kind of environment I want. But if I can feel that I'm doing something good and productive and something that is going to be something that is necessary, that's the main thing is I'm responsible for it. I have to do it because I can do it. And I'm maybe the only person who can, in some ways, get this thing off the ground. So for folks who I've heard that, how's Todd going to be our minister and he's going to be putting too much attention to that? It's the same thing as far as I'm concerned. So
I have a couple of organizational questions. As I understand it, paperwork has been filed to incorporate in the state of Washington. Is that correct?
correct.
Right.
And
And then that's a process which is still moving forward.
Moving forward, we should actually, the 60 days are up this week. We should be hearing something anytime. So.
Okay. And I've heard some what I consider to be very forward-looking ideas when they appeal to me. For example, establishing some sort of forum like the UUA used to, or UU World used to entertain letters to the editor. That's no longer the case. I think it would be very interesting to have a place where people from congregations can write in and they can engage constructively with one another. Is that a part of a written document that's associated with the application for the charter, or where would that fit into the organization of this new organization?
Well, it really is part of the work of the steering committee and the now board. We just established an official board during our last, I guess it was 2 weeks ago now. But we're putting those systems in place. There is a hope that we will actually have a hard magazine at some point, but we are obviously able to get some sort of newsletter out pretty quickly. And that newsletter right now, the newsletter, well, I won't give the name away just yet, since the UUA is listening. The newsletter is going to do a few things. It is going to keep our members informed about what the organization is up to, as well as opportunities and events that are coming up. It is going to allow for rigorous input from members who agree or disagree with the work of the organization. And it is going to be informative. So we won't do propaganda, but we do hope to do articles that would just be something liberals want to read, you know, an article on some international or national topic that you know, from the perspective of this newsletter that will eventually turn into a magazine, or a newsletter and a magazine. But that newsletter is already in place. I've written a brief article explaining the best I can what the NAUA is about, the services it will provide, the spirit in which it will function, and the relationship it will have with its members, which is pretty much, it's a service organization. You know, I don't even want to we'll put our mission statement and our values up, but we're not going to say, in order to join, you have to commit to these values. Right? You have to write your own values. Your congregation has to find your own language, right? If you have a kinship with what the NAUA is about and you want to join, then that's great. The other thing that we've talked a lot about is with the ministers. I have a small group of ministers working, and I'm so grateful for that, because they've really opened my eyes on some things. But essentially, we're gonna go back to letting congregations do most of the legwork on ministers. Okay, and what I mean by that is congregations with congregational polity, like United Church of Christ, Southern Baptist, that basically means that they ordain, call, and install their own ministers. Now, in every other religion, the way that works is it's time for you to find a minister, you start advertising. And if you want to hire somebody with a little bit of experience who knows their Bible well, or whatever it is, and they live in the country and you can afford to pay them and they're close and it's just going to be part of their life, you do that. If you're a big church in downtown somewhere and you want a minister who's, you know, highly credentialed and has a great education, then you do that. So what the NAUA will be a clearinghouse. And we'll have ministers that approach us and say, I'd be interested, and we'll have a modicum of some sort of qualification, which is probably going to be a little more than a proven commitment to liberal ministry and an understanding of what it is. And we'll probably support ministers by having some courses, online courses about Unitarian history. But largely, we want to give congregations the power. What has happened is that the bylaws of the UUA have that policy, right? It's written. It says the local congregation has the sole authority to ordain, call, and install its ministers. Yet the same sentence says, but the Ministerial Fellowship Committee has the sole authority to welcome ministers into fellowship. What happened, though, is that but became a gate, right? The MFC credentials ministers into its fellowship and then doesn't let you see who they are unless it chooses to, or let them see who you are unless it chooses to. So and then put in the system where, there's only one day a year and you can't notify your selection until noon on that day. And everybody around the country is rapidly trying to dial at noon so they can get the minister they want before somebody else does. It's madness. And it's against the spirit of our liberal tradition to begin with. So that's going to be easier on all of us, and we'll be recreating that.
I'm noticing, oh, go ahead.
Well, I think it would be good to put in the Sun, the summary of the survey. And it's too late for this week, but is that okay with everyone if I submit it to Rebecca for next week's?
Yes.
Okay.
Be great.
We are, however, going to be taking a vote among the board about whether or not to become charter members today. And we haven't yet heard, I'm noticing, from Lilia or Betsy, and wonder if either of you have anything you'd like to say in this discussion as well.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute. I'm super sick. That's why I'm quiet. But I'm just super excited at the prospect of being a part of this organization, and I love everything it stands for. So, yay! That's how I feel.
Thanks. Hope you feel better soon.
Me too. Thank you.
Betsy, are you there? I see your mute. Your mute is off, but I'm not hearing you, Betsy.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
So I would fully endorse the way you put it, Catherine, and just would like to repeat that. Essentially that we have had lots of responses and thoughts about the things that were upsetting us about the UUA's behavior over the last few years, and Lynn's letter, etc. Many things, right? But this seems like a positive response and the best sort of course to, in a way, a grievance and a set of grievances is to problem solve our way out of it into something else that's positive. So I'm all for it and quite on board. So thank you for putting it together, Todd and team.
Are we ready now to take a vote? Okay, I'm seeing thumbs up. Okay.
Well, wait a minute. Well, from a parliamentarian standpoint.
Yes, I was about to do that.
You need to have a motion.
Yes, I was
that
about
can
to.
be read back by the secretary, and that has to be seconded and that sort of thing, because this is a very formal endeavor that you're undertaking.
Yes, yes. And that was just what I was about to say is, would someone like to make a motion about our becoming charter members of the NAUA?
I move that that the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane becomes a charter member of the North American Unitarian Association.
I
You have-
second.
Oh, good. Good second from Candace. Okay, so now we will have a vote. And let's see.
Are we voting in favor?
Yes, a vote in favor. Yes, a vote in favor. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. It is unanimous that has passed. We are to be a charter member of the NAUA.
Yay!
Yay.
I just want to say for the record, thank you to the board for all of your support and trust and heart on this issue. Candace, also ditto, thank you so much for the good work in involving so much of, and succeeding involving so much of the congregation and giving everyone an opportunity who wanted to share their thoughts in such a thorough way. And then finally, for the record, I would want to thank the congregation itself for continuing to be supportive. And for those who have questions about this, I hope they'll soon be answered. For those who disagree with the decision, I hope you may one day be convinced that this was a great idea. But I thank all of you for being part of this congregation and working through the democratic process, and for the tremendous show of support.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
you.
And now, Lynn and Tom, it's Policies and Procedures Subcommittee update.
Okay, well, onward we go. Tom and I are continuing to meet on Thursdays at 1 p.m. from about 1 to 2:30, 1 to 3. We are just a little bit over halfway through the Policies and Procedures document. And we're moving a little bit faster now because we're at the board section, which is a little bit easier because we have covered so much when we did our bylaws revision. We have some questions that came up between the two of us regarding the section, the operations team section, or the operations of the church section. And I've spoken with Todd and with Rebecca about, actually, rather than us coming to them or trying to just meet with Rebecca, having Todd and Rebecca join us at one of our meetings so that we can clear up some of those. They're sort of, I mean, I don't want to call them housekeeping because they are some big things, but they're sort of simple things, like we just need to know if we should update how much money the operations team can spend without getting permission, or getting bids on things, how many bids, and those kinds of little tiny details, the things that need to be updated since the last time these policies were written. So Rebecca has agreed, Todd, and I'm wondering if you could put this on your calendar. I'm not sure if you're free. I think we talked briefly about this, but Rebecca is free, not tomorrow, but the February 2nd at 1 p.m. to join us. And eventually, board, we do promise that we're going to be bringing this whole document with the recommended changes to share with you before we, of course, make any permanent changes ourselves, because we can't do that.
Thank you so much, Lynn and Tom, for your work on this. I know it's another version of the long, tedious slog of doing all the bylaws rewriting, and this is going to be beautiful icing on the cake. So thank you so much for your work.
We are having a wonderful time with our wordsmithing. Together, we do some really decent wordsmithing stuff. And sometimes we say, what the heck were they trying to say here?
And that's some of the things that lead to, well, it's something that's been going on for a long time. We better check with Rebecca to see how it's been done and institutionalize it, or change whatever's written. And all in all, we're doing the red and the blue thing. Blue is things we're adding, and red is things that we're suggesting be deleted. And the red overwhelms the blue by a considerable amount.
Yeah, I think you'll be pleased.
The bylaws, as Lynn said, address so much of the things. So
Yeah.
we're making progress, and I think I've been enjoying every moment of time with Lynn, whether we're fully focused on the task or whether we're just talking about this or that.
That's kind of what the bylaw rewrite was about for me. Is it was such an unexpected, enjoyable activity to just be with you all in the process of rewriting things.
Well,
Yeah.
it was something to do. It was something to do during COVID.
Yes.
That's true.
Definitely.
That's true.
There is something very fun about that. And while we're waiting, I'm going to share my screen for a second because I hope I don't embarrass you, Tom. But this is remarkable, you guys. I don't know if any of you are fantasy people or Tolkien fans, or have seen the series. The
It's Tolkien.
is it Tolkien? Sorry.
Okay.
What is it called? The Fellowship of the Rings or something? That's the
Uh-huh.
new series that's on. I want you to check this out because it's phenomenal. That this is a character from the Rings of Power. It's the new series. If you haven't seen it, it is pretty interesting. But check out this particular character.
Oh, yes. I told people there's a character on there that reminds me of Tom Mosier. Yes.
Ah,
Oh,
yeah.
That I could look into it.
Likeness, incredible.
Mhm.
Yes. Very
Same
nice.
hair.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I had to send that to Tom one.
Oh, that's
one day.
great.
It's making me want to watch it now just to
It's
see if
very
his
good.
characters at all
Oh,
like
it's
Tom.
very good. Yeah.
He's a that's a very good character.
Tom's ears are more pointed.
There we go. Thank you.
Well,
Lynn.
And we knew we were gonna have some time left here for open forum, and I think that I want to make room for anybody here who would like to just talk about anything, maybe non-board members first, and then anybody who's got anything they want to discuss.
Hi, can I talk?
Sure.
Hello? Oh, hi,
Hi.
Karen here.
Hi,
I was
Karen.
lurking in the background listening to this, so, but I knew you were gonna have the open forum, so. I think it's great, the vote you've taken. I do think and it's a little premature, but as soon as you know more specificity about the NAUA, I think that'll be really helpful. Who's on its steering committee? Who's on the initial board? When will this newsletter be up and running for people to be able to give input? I think the congregation needs as many details as soon as they're available. I think I'm especially excited with the e-newsletter idea, being able to have congregations around the country a comment on what's going on and perhaps offer constructive solutions. That's all great. And I wanted to say one other thing. I know our church membership is more or less stable, and that's a very good thing, and that some new people are joining. But there is a sense in the congregation that I would say that I would estimate that there are 40 to 50 of us who put a lot of work into whatever it is, committees, lay leadership, the choir, the endowment team. And some of us are getting really tired and would like some additional help. And somehow I feel there's some kind of a gap between incoming members and the people who are actually list themselves as members and people who are willing to step up and do things. And so I'm wondering if the board could think about that a little bit. I mean, is there a link somehow that we could use, some technique to get more members on various committees, whether it's the Social Justice Coordinating Council or the choir, or any entity in our church? Because there is a sense, although the church, I think, feels far more stable than it did, of course, in 2020. And there's a generally positive feeling. There's also a feeling of burnout among some of our volunteers. So I'd just like you to think about that and how we might encourage more active volunteering in our church, including the Spokane Alliance.
I can't remember back to when when I first became a member. I don't remember if it was sort of part of the new membership introduction to talk about how meaningful it is to be participating with other members of the church on committees, and to be taking on some of these volunteer roles. It's not just that we need volunteers, it's that volunteers, I mean, our congregation, our people need to feel useful and involved in the church, that it's a two-way street. Everybody's getting something, and it's a way to deepen membership and make it much more meaningful. And I can't remember if that much emphasis is placed on it for when people first join the church. Does anybody know that off the bat, if that's something that we stress or not with new members?
Well, can I make comment
Sure.
on some of that? Well, first, I agree with Karen, and just a thought there is that over the years, I've found that if you ask somebody, you say, we really need somebody to be on the ops team, or in the past, I've asked some of you, I know, or suggested that maybe it'd be good if you could possibly get on some team or board or what have you, and people step up that way. Once you say you have the skill set to do this and we really need you, and a lot of times they'll step up and do that. And that's one thought. The other thing I'd like to say is that I just really appreciate tonight that you did what you did on voting this. I think that this way we don't fight the UUA. We come up with an answer where we're leading to a whole new direction that's really positive, and we can stay with the UUA, but we're also heading in a real good direction that gives a lot of opportunity for everything. The second thing I think that you did was allow. Right now, we have 2 seminaries in the country, and they really do pick and choose who they want to be in those cemeteries and be ministers in this religion. This opens up opportunities for people that have differing opinions, and I think that does a lot. And certainly the book, the magazines you're talking about, Todd, where we can't even get an answer to the editors in our existing magazine. This opens up a whole new area there where we can start discussing what we believe and so on, and where the religion should go. And last, I really think this gives us a shot at having a religion again where we're based on logic and reason rather than some push philosophy, which seems to be in evidence from the UUA right now. That's my 2 bits.
Thank you, Dan.
I
Oh,
guess-
Betsy, you've got your hand up there. But you're on mute.
I don't actually. I was just applauding Dan. I
Oh.
appreciate what you said. I appreciate what you said, Dan. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mike, and then I'll
I was getting ready to put in the chat that how impressed I am with this board and this congregation in the short period of time I've been involved, and I can't thank you enough for welcoming me in. So thanks.
Thank you, Mike. And that brings up another thing that links back to what Karen was bringing up before about the need for new members to participate in various ways. And we talked a little bit about this before, about members that are at a distance from us can also participate. A lot of us, even here in Spokane, haven't met all together in person for quite some time. And it would be lovely to have you participate in some form. So if you see something that you would like to do, don't wait for a personal invitation, but you might be getting one.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to that, actually.
Good.
Yeah, if I can, just because I don't want to leave Karen hanging on that one either. It's a really good point. You know, I think that if we actually sat down on paper and started writing down all the people that are doing things in this church, it would be a lot more than 50. The teams are always under volunteered, you know. It's been like that. It's probably like that in just about every church, unfortunately, that, you know, the old saying, 10% of the people do everything. I've often thought it would be, you know, we should put a policy in place that an individual is not allowed to serve on more than 3 teams for their own health and for ours, right? Because what you find is that people, that if you leave a vacuum open, someone will fill it. If the vacuum is not open, nobody will fill it, right? So oftentimes somebody has to step, you know, it's like they don't want to step out because they don't know who's gonna do the work. Nobody will step up, but then when you step out, somebody does. So it's not a great way. It causes a lot of anxiety, and it always spreads us thin when we rely on that sort of natural system to get things done. You know, the way we're doing our new member introductions now, I don't think it would be fruitful to skim over opportunities for service. We do point to it, but I agree. I think people will do things if you ask them to, for the most part, and maybe some of us, including myself, need to put together a team and brainstorm ways to invite people into the vacuums that they don't see, right? Into the holes that they don't see. So if they see them, they'll want to help. And identify what are those vacuums. You know, a vacuum may very well be that somebody has been serving on a team too long and they want off. They want to do something else, and we don't see it as a vacuum, right? Because, oh, there are plenty of people on the endowment team, right? Or whatever it is. So, but there's going to I think there needs to be more intelligent conversation and thought about that. So I don't know, Karen, if that's something you would want to, you know, be part of, at least a preliminary conversation, a brainstorming conversation. Mike, maybe that's one of the things you can help us do too, as one of our distance members who has been pretty active in the church already, to come up with ways we can come up with a better system. You know, that's really what we need, is a system. Right now, we do have a system, and it's an old system. It's not working for us. I think we need to do something. I think we need to do something different.
I'd be willing to be part of that team too. One of the things that I'm thinking about is often with new members, there may only be a few people who know the person, and sometimes people aren't the best spokesperson about their own strengths that others can see easily. And if we can get together and have some positive gossip about new people that have joined, about what we see as some of their abilities and skills, it could help us know who to ask to invite to be part of a team. But I'd be willing to participate in that too. I don't know if you are, Karen, but if Karen and Mike and Todd and I and anybody else, at least there's some of us that are willing to try to help that take place.
Well,
Sure,
I'd
I'd be
certainly be willing
I'd be
to.
willing to. Yeah, okay, good.
Good.
Yeah, and I would be willing to do that too. I think it was about 2018, somewhere in there, where we had some kind of a leadership development team, and we also practiced relational meetings with new people who came into the church, which is a technique developed in the Spokane Alliance to have really deep conversations with people about what their passions are. And it's a way of leading to, how would you like to use your passions in this church? That was the whole idea of it. And we did identify some people that way. So, but yes, I would be willing to at least initially be in a group that wants to brainstorm this.
Okay, I've written down these names, so.
Great. And Tom, I see your hand up there.
Yeah, well, before, I was going to actually ask Mike, and it's of course, I think some of this conversation has taken place. You, Mike, and other people who are remote are parts of congregations, and any input and maybe an approach, if you're going to get involved with this, would be to approach our members of other congregations who have come to us and ask them, how do you all do this at your place? And that, well, I was prompted to think that way by seeing you there, Mike, and your name and being in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I encourage them, that group of people, to be tapped for ideas and nothing else.
Yeah,
Great.
Tom, I'm assuming that we're gonna have a blending of some sorts, and we're gonna all work it out. I mean, I love the idea of being a member of this congregation,
Cool.
and I love being involved with the NAUA. Yeah, I see it as a great idea to get together and figure it out. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
we're gonna have to crawl before we walk, before we run, but I really look forward to it.
Great.
Gonna be fun.
Yeah, we got to make it fun.
It will be fun, for sure.
Great, thank you all.
Any other people want to participate in any other way in the open forum? Anything else that people would like to discuss? Not seeing anybody. Well, are we ready to adjourn this early?
Do that.
Okay, all right. Well, we don't get any points taken off for adjourning it, adjourning early. In fact, it might be some positive points. Then we'll adjourn for today. Oh, wait, but our next meeting will be, let's see, Lynn, you probably have that right on your calendar right there. The fourth Wednesday of next month is,
It's February 22nd.
okay, February 22nd is our next board meeting. Everybody be happy until then, I hope.
Okay, good.
Bye, everyone.
Good night,
Bye-bye,
everyone.
thanks.
Night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Yep, good night.
Good night.